Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
Vinyl Tap. Hi, I'm Habibi.
I'm Habibi.
I'm Habibi.
I'm Habibi.
That was a lot of syllables that we just went through. Syllables? Constants.
Words.
Constants. That's a lot of
Speaking. Yes.
constants.
We just listened to It Is What It Is. It's your turn to talk.
Yeah, so we just listened to Thundercats. It Is What It Is. And I think we have a lot of division, which is excellent. I fucking loved this. Incredible album.
Can we start with two things?
Yes.
I want to know when it's from. Sonically, it made me want to say mostly late 70s, early 80s, minus the fact that I'm pretty sure there was sampling.
Right.
But other than that. And then also lyrically and content-wise, it was way too tongue-in-cheek to be from them. So it makes me want to say like the past 10 years.
This album was released in 2020.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. That was... it definitely had like that whole 80s nostalgia.
Yes.
Weather
Massively.
report kind of sound.
Oh. Like
Yeah.
90% of
Yeah.
the songs would have easily fitted onto an album from there, and
Well,
I was
see,
thinking
the
that
thing
it was
is, it
completely
had
that.
this huge like 8-bit, 16-bit video game influences all through the album, right? Musically and lyrically.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff wasn't in like released music, like an artist. It was in video game soundtracks, and that's it. It's only now that that kind of stuff is being imported
Which
through
bits
like
were
80s
that?
nostalgia.
Which bits are you talking about? Like the synth or?
Yeah, the synthesizers mainly, and like the harmony they used
Okay.
all
Yeah.
through the album is very video game inspired, which is a weird thing to say, I know. But especially in that era of video games, because the composers were really limited in what they could do, they had to resort to very like creative harmonic solutions to create interesting music. And that kind of explains all of the crazy shit that's happening in this album, but also it's just crazy shit in general.
But also
There's a lot of
beyond
that 70s, 80s jazz. Like
Yeah, well,
Yes.
there's a heap
The-
of fusion in there.
For
Yeah.
me, the like bass and the drums were just the driving force that
Yeah.
allowed everything else to kind of have freedom of like harmony, melody, like rhythms over the top.
Yeah. I mean, you say that like it's like video game music, like all those bass lines that are moving like crazy, are like, Victor Wood and Jarko Pistorius.
Yeah.
They're like imported just straight from
It's
there.
fucking
in
Sonic the
there.
Hedgehog.
Yeah, and like, yeah, exactly. They're all just sort of that one sort of sound. I don't know. I thought it was super dope.
I personally, I loved it. We know, Andrew, you...
Okay, so listening to what Tim was just saying there, and getting this understanding that if that's what they were going for, and that's the reasoning behind why the harmonies were the way they were, I feel like I enjoyed it slightly more. I still didn't actually like connect with this album particularly. The massive problems I had were it almost felt at times academic, like I was missing out on something because, and if I was just listening to this doing something, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on what I was doing, and I would have to zone it out completely.
Just to pay attention to what's going on.
Just pay attention to what's going on. I couldn't have that as background music, and even as music that I'm sitting there forcibly listening to, I found that I had to concentrate really hard to find things that I enjoyed. Say I enjoyed the tone of the guitar in the songs, or I enjoyed the ooze that went through just about every song. I don't know why it was in every fucking song, but that got to me as well. Like we had in songs of massively different styles almost. We had this same thing, and I just felt it was like, well, this is not fitting. You've used it in this context, and I liked it in that context, and you've just thrown it in again. And my question is, why is it in there again? But basically my point is, I found it highly academic, and that was really frustrating and disengaging for me because I felt like I felt like they had an inside joke, and I was on the outside, and I couldn't engage with it. So I wonder if I was more learned in this style of music, I would connect with it more. But I found like almost I was being kicked out of the in joke
That is super
by the artist. And
It is what it is.
This is what people who aren't you feel when they listen to Haydn or
Yeah.
and I agree, but at the
That's
same
really
time,
interesting.
I found some of the songs I actually like, and so I'm a trumpet player, classically trained, and I enjoy a wide variety of music. So like we're talking classical concerto albums. Sometimes I listen to theme and variation albums. I listen to drum and bass music every night with my brother while we do things together. We listen to like heavy punk rock together. I then listen to like I go all the way out to other styles of music. I listen to jazz. I listen to contemporary Australian composers writing jazz and things like that. And what I found disengaging was, okay, you had a song that was very like heavily written, heavily scored. We had like the bass just ripping it up. We had a saxophone. Also, you don't need to, jazz doesn't have to be as many notes as you can in as short a time as possible to be appreciated by people. And I just found it really hard to connect to. I don't know. And yeah, I've written here, does jazz have to be full and constantly moving to be accepted by contemporary jazz musicians? Like, is that a necessary thing to happen?
It's definitely not a necessary thing.
Fascinating.
But I loved the blend of tongue-in-cheek with that 80s sound, but also that bit of like electronic sound. Because I'm pretty sure it's a drum machine. Like it seemed, I don't know if all the songs, but there are definitely some where it was so fast and so spot on that I was like, if that's a person playing that, then
fuck off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I, that's a really interesting take on calling it academic because it is very thoroughly written. There's a lot going on and there's a lot to pass. So you're definitely right in that respect.
But that's just that's coming from my personal background. So what I was just saying then with the theme and variation songs were sort of show off pieces written for classical musicians a lot of the time. I felt like, and to be honest, I get bored listening to them. It's like, wow, that's some great technique, but who cares?
Yeah.
And I actually, a few of these songs, I was so put off by what was happening in the instruments and things, I didn't even engage with the lyrics because all I was thinking was, okay, wow, nice playing, man. We heard that last track too. Okay, here we are again. Wow, nice job. Good on you. I don't know.
But there's a song called Dragonball Durag.
I enjoyed the titles. Unfortunately, we're not just talking about the titles. There was music that accompanied them.
But that's so, like you're saying, you're hearing the same thing each song. It's so stylistic of what he's doing though, because that's how most, if not all, but like a lot of that stuff, that jazz from the late 70s, 80s, it was very like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. My like, I would say that the analysis of everything that you're saying is like spot on.
Yeah.
But how I was listening to that and sort of hearing it was like the polar opposite. So those really, really fast bass lines interwoven with, like an insane sax solo that's just shredding every single note possible. Yeah. It kind of, I thought that like it was actually a bit of a fresh take on that whole sort of thing because rather than the sax solo being, I think it was particularly in like the third, fourth song,
pretty early on.
Pretty early
I know
on.
what you're talking about.
Instead of it being like the main sort of feature of the whole track at that point, it was set right back in the mix. So it was just kind of blazing away doing this fat solo, and there are other things that sort of traditionally would be a little bit more set back. The bass, the rhythm, all that sort of stuff is kind of not the feature. And this, it flipped it on its head. And so the bass was just tearing it up.
The bass was it every single song.
It's so amazing. And then, it's like the slamming out a sax solo was more of a textural thing, which I thought was a really, really cool effect and a really nice spin on it.
Yeah, I actually wasn't paying attention to all the notes coming out of the sax. I was listening to the effect of the notes coming out of the sax.
Right, yeah.
And I understand, especially given your background, listening to all those notes and hearing, okay, cool. Yeah.
You're shredding.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, and
that was definitely my take on it. And just jumping back to saying about like the 70s and 80s jazz kind of thing. Well, I found that whole period of jazz musicians to be pretentious in the first place. What they're churning out is they are trying to not engage with the common person, and the common person almost had to adopt this highbrow perspective, like, oh, I understand jazz, so I like this because I understand jazz. And it's like you become this person that's saying, I like jazz because I understand and I'm better than you. So enjoying and engaging with the music is your way of saying, I'm better than you.
I think the peak groovy thing about this album is that it is accessible in this weird way because of those like palatable video game sounds. Like you can approach it in that textural sense where like that crazy jazz shit is just a part of it. It's decoration.
Just sort of like going on that a little bit more. Would you say that the classical scene has a similar kind of thing?
Absolutely.
And
I'm not defending the classical scene.
As a point of discussion, like. Because what I'm sort of seeing here is, I mean, you are very engaged in the classical world, and you can approach it, and you might find somebody who didn't go through, a conservatorium for classical training. They'll look at, classical compositions or, sort of more modern music and go, yeah, look, that's not fun. Everyone's just having a big old wank fest about how intelligent they are, and they can understand it.
It's true.
And it's fascinating that you almost have that same kind of view on this music, because I would agree that like it could be really really hard to engage with if you don't sort of get the tropes.
On the
I
other
think it's
hand,
like
I think having a song called Dragonball Durag and having a section of a song where he pretends to be a captain and he's talking about landing in Russia, I think that kind of tongue-in-cheekness, that kind of humour requires not taking yourself too seriously.
right.
And I think I've foiled your point.
Can I
I agree.
interject with my
I agree and
favorite
disagree.
favorite line of the album,
Yep.
which was, "I may be covered in cat hair, but I still smell good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so nonsensical lyrics a lot of the time, and it just made it fun, and like you said, it was taking away that
Baby girl, I'm gonna smash my do-rag because it's only right.
like
What?
it's just, it does take away that power of like, this is very serious music that should be taken seriously. It's like, I'm
just calm down.
It's just we're here for a bit of a laugh.
And it's difficult to chill out and listen to this because it's so hyperactive.
And I think I wrote here. I was becoming tense listening to the music, and I couldn't get to the lyrics. I honestly couldn't get to the lyrics at times. I was sitting there and I was literally shaking and nervous and thinking, when is this going to end? 37 minutes of my life.
I did look over to you and you were like...
There were, as a point of concession, there were some songs where it was like definitely just technical showing off. I think like the sixth song, House Sway, it's like a rat on crack. It was insane. The bass was just so fast, and it was like, yeah, cool. Like, I thought that was really, really great.
But also, in saying that, a lot of those songs were very short and very like moving on to the next thing very quickly.
Yeah, which I liked a lot. That the shortness of the songs really lent to it, because it kind of then became this coalition of ideas rather than just dragging out, jamming on for way too long.
Which is also very opposite of what they used to do in the 70s and 80s, where they pick the one thing and stick with it for such a long time. Whereas all of these songs, there were 15 songs in 37 minutes. Like, that's not a long time for 15 songs.
I actually agree with that, but I would almost argue that some of these songs were the same song just broken up with a song in between them almost. And we had this continuation where they have the same backing, we had the same texture, we had the same backing, we had the same functionality of the instruments, and I felt like... So that my next thing was to ask, because before we were talking about a different artist another time, and we took apart the way that there was no connectivity through the album. What was the direction? What was the direction here? I don't know.
I definitely heard a tonal consistency throughout the album with this like video game tinged funk jazz disco.
But then also lyrically, just the whole taking the piss the whole time is consistent across it.
I did really get a feel that it was a collection of ideas and melodies and just collaborating with different artists. But I mean, this is just Thundercat's sound. It's that kind of like those oohs with the really ethereal vocal qualities. The just wonderful, wonderful bass. That's so, I don't know.
Yeah, you were talking about there being a drum machine. There was a bass machine, and his name is Thundercat.
Yeah.
My God.
Okay, I will admit as well. It was impressive. Like, I never said it wasn't impressive.
Ripping it.
Yeah,
he is shredding.
There was...
I could not get over some of the stuff he did. I kept being like, wow. And then he kept doing new things, and I would still just be amazed.
There's a lot of tonal variety in the bass as well throughout the album, I found.
So I'm going to do a fat recommendation to Louis Cole. And there's a song that features him. It's the third song in this. And it's just got his like flavour and style just throughout the whole thing.
I love Louis Cole.
Really fast, upbeat drums that
I love the drums.
And then he's got these like amazing kind of like long melody lines that just float over the top of it. Super cool.
Another thing that they kind of like kept across the album that I really liked was a lot of the time the vocal harmonies weren't with the voice. It was like a call and response. It was very conversational, which I think again makes it feel not as like serious, because it is tongue in cheek, and so it is kind of like just having a conversation with your mates, but with harmonies.
No, absolutely. Well, does anybody have
any other
thoughts?
Any other like specific things that they want to point out or chat about?
Did you notice it was Childish Gambino in the fourth song?
Yeah. Damn it. I was wondering if you'd pick that up.
Oh, I really liked that reaction.
No,
I was
didn't.
holding on to that for you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that song. I thought it was very funky. But that's when I actually started writing about, is this academic music and is this...
Well, Childish Gambino, as we all know, is a doctorate in funk, so...
Yeah, I don't know.
Anything else he wants to
Like,
do.
if you're really into lo-fi sort of beats, if you're into fusion jazz, this is amazing.
You're into
music.
video games.
You're into video games.
Dragon
even.
Ball.
The video games thing, I'm kind
Animated
of
comics.
like, I don't know if I fully agree.
You know,
with.
I agree with what you're saying, but
it's
I
so
don't
much-
think it's as strong.
No, it's all through there, man.
Yeah, but like
It's
the,
not like I
it's
think it's a
feel like
secondary element.
No,
not a
no, it's so
primary
strong.
element.
I feel like it's chicken and egg,
I'll
right?
die on this hill.
Is he quoting video games or is video games quoting jazz? I mean, like fusion jazz is
That
huge
could
in
be true.
Japan, like around sort of 80s,
Yeah.
90s, and
Even
then
today. They still love it.
and yeah, they still love it. And there's a like that whole video game music kind of culture, you could say, is
Which itself has a
lot of it
lick
comes
of
out-
academia to it.
right, exactly. So who's quoting who there?
Yeah, true.
Um,
Yeah, but the tones of it.
yeah, but
Those
it's
like
like
Sega fucking 8-bit sounds.
yeah, but those,
There's no way you
those
can
sounds
not-
100% were happening already, like in the 80s and stuff. It's like the Stranger Things theme music, right? It's just harkening back. There's a bit of a renaissance. to it.
Right, so you're saying that that's not necessarily a direct reference to chiptunes, but just harkening to that.
That
80s
the tone
nostalgia.
of
80s, yeah.
80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, it's tough to say if that's unconscious or like a direct quoting. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, video games were also like
Big in the
starting
80s.
to become big in the 80s,
Yes.
the arcades and stuff.
Absolutely.
So they're all connected in the one. You can't really separate it.
Another thought
That's
I
a big
really
part
wanted
of it,
to
sometimes.
say that I haven't yet is a lot of it made me think of that YouTube video, The History of Japan.
Yeah, I wrote down that this is Bill Wirtz's final form.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first song. I have that note. From
This
the
is
first song.
beast mode Bill Wirtz, and I really wish that Bill Wirtz would unleash this on
and
us.
release an album.
And this, I love Thundercat. I'm gonna listen to more Thundercat.
so
after this.
yeah.
I'm not.
take it.
You are not.
It's fine.
I was never listening to that again.
That feels like.